240p. Here's the truth. Nobody selling you a 4K TV will say out loud, more pixels does not automatically mean a better picture. Your eyes have a hard limit, and somewhere on this ladder, the upgrades quietly stop being something you can actually see. The whole game is figuring out which level that happens on. Because a screen is really just a grid of tiny dots, and resolution is nothing more than the dot count. 240p is what it looks like when there are barely any. It's blurry, but not useless. You can still make out a face or a big shape in the background. The moment small text shows up, though, it melts into mush. This is the resolution the internet was born in. The very first YouTube video, Me at the Zoo, uploaded back in 2005, went out at 240p and below, and it looks exactly as rough as you'd imagine. These days, you only meet 240p in one place, when your Wi-Fi is having a bad day and YouTube quietly drops you here to save you from yourself. 480p. This is the one your childhood actually looked like. Standard definition, 720 by 480 pixels, was the default for basically everyone in the mid-2000s, running on chunky CRT TVS and budget laptop screens. It was the resolution of DVD movies and a huge slice of the PlayStation 2 library, and for the time it was a real leap. Small text finally became readable instead of a smear. People didn't just tolerate it, they liked it, because it ate far less storage than anything sharper. What you paid for that was the edges. Look closely, and everything's wearing a soft, jagged outline, like a photo printed a few sizes too big, every hard diagonal breaking into a tiny staircase of pixels. Good enough to run the early internet, not good enough to survive a pause button. 720p. Then the world got sharp. 1280 by 720 was the first resolution people genuinely called HD, and the first one where the picture stopped looking like a picture and started looking like a window. The trick is that the pixels finally shrank small enough to vanish. Logos hold clean shapes, text gets crisp edges, and faces stop looking like impressionist paintings. That's why it swallowed up HD TVs, early YouTube and Netflix in the late 2000s, and the entire PlayStation 3. Here's the catch, though. 720p is smooth, but it still isn't sharp. It sands the rough edges off the world without ever handing you the fine detail. It's like a song playing one room over, pleasant, slightly muffled. Your eyes, though, were nowhere near done climbing the ladder. 1080p. Reality check. This is almost certainly the screen you're reading on right now. Full HD, 1920 by 1080 is the most used resolution on the planet. Laptops, phones, monitors, TVs, all of it. It's the first one that's smooth and sharp at the same time. In a game, you can pick out wrinkles in fabric, blades of grass, the stitching on a jacket, detail that simply doesn't exist at 720p. But here's the part the spec sheet hides. Full HD is only about 2 million pixels total. Cram those 2 million into a small phone screen, and they pack in dense, gorgeous, solid, razor clean. Stretch the exact same 2 million across a giant TV, and they spread thin and the image goes soft. Same resolution, same number, two completely different results because the screen size changed, not the pixels. That's the whole secret of resolution in one sentence. It was never about the count, it's about the density. 1440p. Quick question before we climb higher. What resolution are you watching this in right now? Drop it in the comments, I'm genuinely curious. And if this is finally making resolution make sense, hit the like button, it really does help the channel. Okay? 2560 by 1440 Quad HD is the resolution competitive gamers and editors quietly swear by. Side by side with 1080p on something close or large, you might shrug. Look at something tiny or far away, and it's a different story. Picture a distant hill with a building on it. At 1080p, that building is basically a blurry rumor. Bump it to 1440p, and suddenly you can count the windows. And for an FPS player trying to spot an enemy 300 meters out, that isn't a luxury. It's the entire game. It also fixes the big screen problem from a second ago. On a large monitor where 1080p turns soft, 1440p stays crisp without demanding the brute force of 4K. I personally won't edit on anything less anymore. Once you've stared at a sharp timeline, the blurry one just feels broken. 4K. Now it gets a little ridiculous. 4K, 3840 by 2160 is 4 times the pixels of Full HD, more than 8 million dots on a single panel, packed so tightly you don't have to lean in or zoom to notice. It just is sharper, no squinting required. That's why it owns the living room. Normally, to catch fine detail on a big TV, you'd have to sit close. At 4K, you can melt into the couch across the room and still read the texture on someone's coat. I personally didn't buy the hype until I sat that far back and still saw every thread. The thing that actually makes 4K feel cinematic, though, isn't the pixels. It's HDR, which most 4K TV now ship with. It hands your screen sunglasses and night vision at once. Shadows stay dark without losing detail. Bright spots glow without blowing out. The price of all that is bandwidth. Streaming it needs a serious router and an internet plan that doesn't flinch, or you're just buffering in ultra-high definition. 8K, and this is where the whole ladder quietly collapses. 8K is 7680 by 4320. 4 times 4K, 16 times Full HD. It is the sharpest resolution money can currently buy, built for wall-sized screens in luxury home theaters and showroom demos. It is also, for almost everyone, pointless. Hardly anything is even filmed in 8K. Most of what you watch maxes out at 4K or Full HD. And the kicker, even when you put real 8K in front of a person, the gap from 4K is so small that human eyes mostly can't find it, which drops us right back where we started. There's a hard ceiling on all of this, and it was never the screen. It's you. Past a certain density, you're firing more and more pixels at an eye that stopped counting a long time ago. 8K is the most detail ever crammed onto glass. Sprinting toward a finish line, your own eyeballs already crossed.